Hey there, so Jeremy Clifford here. Because I couldn't go on the meets or the Zoom calls this semester, I decided I would go ahead and take a minute and record a video. This will be my reflection for this semester for English 771. So there were the list of questions there, and I think instead of just trying to answer the questions, I put some notes together and I'm going to just sort of expound on those. This is something really different. It's something I'm uncomfortable with, but we get better at things by doing things that are uncomfortable. So I would usually write out a full script and read it off, but I'm not going to do that this time. So I think the biggest thing that I really learned this semester, as far as the anti-racist pedagogy, rhetoric, composition, it really just had to do with understanding where I have prejudices. And that's not necessarily prejudice as in the racial or gender prejudices, but things that I'm judging beforehand, things that I'm taking what I know and just applying them across the board. I'm making assumptions. We had the conversation in the text about the coaches as teachers, and we had kind of a pejorative view of coaches as teachers, but really that's just our prejudices running through us, and I think really pulling that aside is important. But also with the anti-racist view, that even when we have some prejudices, even if we do something that is prejudiced, it doesn't mean that we are bad people. It means that we've done something that needs to be corrected. With the anti-racist talk that we watched, the TED Talk, there was the note about the racist actions are a problem. That it's not necessarily that the person is a racist. They may be in every other way completely the opposite of racist. But this action that they took, these words that they said, were racist. So it's separating the label of the action from the label of the person. And so I think giving myself some grace in that. But it's taking the time to stop and reflect, taking the time to ask questions, not being the one who has to have all the answers. It's been a very introspective semester. And I think a lot of that is linked to the idea of privilege. Like, I know that I am somebody who benefits a lot from my appearance, from components of my upbringing. But I also know that there are things about myself, it's a lot of people wouldn't know it to look at me, but I'm Muskokie. It's just part of who I am. But because of the way I look, I can never be fully part of that. So there's a part of my heritage, a part of my family that's disconnected from me because of the way I look. So that whole thing about privilege and oppression, or privilege and difficulty, can coexist in a person. That was really important, I think, to learn. One of the most interesting things over this semester that I think really changed my trajectory was when we started to take a look at the students' right to their own languages. And I think it was Monica that pointed out that we could be doing a disservice to these students, to these children, if we just let them write however they want to write, whatever they're comfortable with. That the well-meaning act of allowing them to write in a way that they're comfortable may be inadvertently extending the problems that we have, and the difficulties that they will face. And that really pushed me in a different direction. I had for many years, basically all of my graduate studies, really been pushing towards that student-centered means students get to make choices, that we respect their languages, and noting that maybe that's not the best thing for them, or maybe that we can respect their language but still have them learn this other language, learn this other way of communicating. This semester with my own students, I teach high school, seniors especially, but this semester I really stepped back and looked at what I'm doing, and I realized how much I had moved into the embracing of the students' right to their own languages, and that when we got to where students needed to write something for other classes, they were thoroughly unprepared. And I think that's where the CCCC kind of misses the mark on that one. I mean, not only, as we discussed, where they were really moving at odds to themselves. They were working against themselves, and on the one hand saying, hey, these students have the right to their own language, and then on the other, well, we need to make sure we teach students all of these basic skills of standard English. That is that dynamic that we have to maintain also. But where we might forget, and they might forget, that the students who come through the composition class or the English class in high school, they're also having to do writing for other classes. And outside of our bubble of respect for language and such, that they will be extremely disrespected by some of these teachers and professors who want it done a certain way. And where is our responsibility to teach them that certain way to do it? And I think that really pushed me as a teacher. Because as a teacher, I think one of my biggest strengths is, well, I'd probably say two strengths. I know I hate to say that, but yeah, two strengths. One is that I have a genuine care for my students. I really want them to succeed. I'm back there for them. For example, one of the things in high school is attendance requirement. Well, if students don't attend a certain number of days, if they're absent a certain number of days, they will lose credit for the class, and it's actually 6 days for the year. So if a student misses 6 days, they can lose credit for the class. They can make that up by coming and doing hours outside of school time. And I've always tried to do a good job of being available for them between the classes I'm taking, between the time I have to work, between my own family, trying to balance all of that. But giving them, being that person who's there for them to let them get what they need, to make sure that they can succeed, give them that opportunity after they've messed up. This weekend, I'm going to do 4 hours on a Saturday in the morning to let them do makeup hours that way. Because a lot of them, they're needing 17, 18 hours, and there's no way you're going to get that just in a regular school day. 30 minutes in the afternoons with different teachers. So I'm trying to help them out that way. So I know that's one of the things. And the other thing that's a strength for me as a teacher is that I will change. I don't believe that I have all the answers. Growing up, having all the answers was the important thing. That was what you do. I mean, even in general now, teachers, professionals, men in general are expected to have the answer. And it's not that others expect men to have the answer. It's that men expect themselves to have the answers. The professionals expect that they're supposed to have the answers. But being able to step back, and that's one of the things that this class has really reinforced, is stepping back, questioning, unlearning, relearning, asking, is this really correct? Is this right? Am I doing this the right way? You know, reworking the entire curriculum for a class because something didn't work, or reworking it to emphasize something that did work. That's really where I am as a teacher. And as a writer, I think my biggest strength is synthesis, just taking different ideas, different concepts, and putting them together into one thing. This semester, as a writer, I think I developed in the idea of composition, where I'm opening myself up to more ways of composing. So where my strength is in synthesis, this video represents something about doing multimedia, doing different modes of composition, where maybe I'm not comfortable doing that. Again, pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone is really, really important. But I have rambled for quite a while here, and I do want to give some advice to students coming up in this class next time, and that is to go ahead and number one, if something doesn't feel right, it's okay to question it. When we had the students write to their own language, the inclination was to just accept, okay, this is good, this is what we want, but maybe it wasn't good, maybe there's problems with it. Maybe it's more complex than something is good or bad. And really having the opportunity to question that, and forcing yourself to question that. Just because you assume something is right doesn't mean it is so. And the other thing is to remain open-minded and to take from whatever is there something useful. A thing that I learned growing up is everyone has something to teach you, and it's just a matter of finding that and learning it. You can take something of use away from any situation, any person, any interaction you have. So I hope that really hits what we need here. This was a really enjoyable class. It was difficult. Again, I didn't get to be on the Zoom meetings just because of the way scheduling worked, even though I fully intended to. But the best laid plans, right? So next semester is my last semester, and I'll be taking one class, and so I hope we'll meet again one day, even just remotely, but it's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much for this class and for this opportunity.